All right, we are here in the 40 Minutes of Hell studios. I'm your friend Joseph Craven, joined as always, I say that to be polite, joined occasionally.
Joined occasionally. That's way more truthful.
By Ro Hunter. We're here talking about the NBA playoffs. Man, we are at the conference finals already. As we are recording, we happen to be watching Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between Golden State and Portland. Hey, what matchup are you more excited about? Golden State, Portland, or in the East with the Bucks and the Raptors?
Bucks and Raptors, hands down, no question. Yeah. Giannis versus Kawhi. Come on now. Look, Portland, happy that they're here to Western Conference Finals. It's nice to see a new face, but it ain't happening, unfortunately. Right now the score is 59-48. Let's check back in about 8 minutes and see what happens. I just don't see Portland edging. I'll be shocked if Portland gets a game, even without Kevin Durant. I just think that I think Portland is. They've had a few buzzer beaters. Portland, I love Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I think that is an excellent pair. I just don't see. Enes Kanter is kind of their, centerpiece down there at the bottom, and that's never a good thing. If he's getting significant playing time, no insult to Enes,
Right? No, fine player. Very interesting story with the whole. Strict observation of Ramadan during the playoff sort of thing that's been going on. That's pretty crazy. No, I'm with you on that. That's they need Nurkic. They need Nurkic in order to really be what they want to be in terms of a championship contending team. Yeah. Totally with you on that one. This does beg a question here. When looking at the Western Conference, when looking at Portland in general, is the performance of the Trailblazers, and in particular, obviously, their heart and soul leaders, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, is their performance this year the best playoff redemption story that you've seen in a while, considering how they got swept last year?
Yeah, between them and Toronto. I will say Toronto if they're able to beat the Bucks, just because they'll make it to a finals, and that just this is the first playoffs where we have no LeBron in any games. It's a little weird. It's very, very odd. That hasn't happened in quite some time. And so Toronto has consistently been, fallen up short against LeBron and co for the last however many years. And so if they're able to come over that hump of the Bucks and get to the finals, and I say them, but up until this point right now, I think Portland by a mile, just because they got swept last year by the Pelicans, and then they have, all year long they've been playing some really good basketball. The way that they move the ball, and then it's just unfortunate with Nurkic going down that it kind of, it didn't seem like that it affected them in the last series, but then again, we're about to see how it really affects them.
Sure.
With this series where they play the awesome, amazing, so incredible Dynasty that is the Golden State Warriors. They're so amazing. They're just incredible. They're so good.
Yep.
So I don't see Portland getting past that. But yeah, as far as matchups go, I'm just more intrigued by the Eastern Conference Finals. I think those two teams, Toronto and the Bucks, match up very well on paper, at least, and they had great games during the season too. And then on the opposite is true of these Western Conference Finals. These two teams don't really match up that well.
No,
unfortunately.
No, they really don't. They really don't. Yeah, so if you've got, I mean, I will say this towards the benefit of like style wise, how well they might match up.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they are both very guard and perimeter centric teams. I mean, it's not like you're really going to see either team try to pound it down low. You might see it more in Portland, especially with a healthy Nurkic, but Cantor kind of holding his own a little bit. But I mean, it's not like we're going to see Draymond Green really be a low post player, and Draymond being like the modern day NBA power forward, little undersized, can stretch out to the perimeter, but is still true, like a true big man and not a true guard at all, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So you got that going for you, but both teams are guard centric, guard oriented, fast paced, perimeter type teams. I mean, Dame Lillard's been working on his 30-foot jump shot. That's like one of the big stories is how Dame views his 30-foot jump shot as a
real shot.
Yeah,
it's like a real shot.
Totally legitimate weapon.
What? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So with that, let's focus still on Portland for just a little bit here. You also have some good stories like the another playoff resurgence, postseason resurgence out of Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood was a playoff guy for the Jazz a few years ago, or was a good player for the Jazz in general, not just playoff guy, but was a 14, 15-point scorer for the Jazz. Ends up in Cleveland. Cleveland underutilizes him, which is a real shocker that a mismanaged Cleveland team would underutilize somebody.
Shocker.
But then, I know. He shows up in the playoffs. When they actually use him in the playoffs, he turns the tides in a couple of games. Then they stop using him, and Cleveland loses. So he goes out to Portland this season, or ends up in Portland this season. And, not an amazing season, but then these playoffs in particular, he stepped up big time as their accessory scorer, especially with Nurkic gone like he is. He's replacing the role of like the other guy that can give relief to the main two in Dame and CJ. How cool is it to see Rodney Hood doing what he's doing in the playoffs?
Meridian, Mississippi represents. So come on now. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I think Rodney Hood is one of those characters in the NBA that he just goes overlooked for whatever reason. He's not utilized in the right ways. He's one of the best shooters. From what I remember in college, the 1 year he spent at Mississippi State, he was an incredible shooter. But that's translated when he was at the Jazz. He was one of their
especially for the mid range.
Yeah.
I don't remember him ever missing a mid range shooter in his 1 year at Mississippi State, or a mid range shot in his 1 year at Mississippi State. And then by the time he was playing at Duke, he had stretched his range out more consistently. I think.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were.
No. You do it. You do it. I'll come back to my thought.
No, I was just going to say with Rodney, he reminds me. I would say kind of a young Sean Livingston, a younger Sean Livingston. Sean Livingston, one of those guys. That dude only pulls up from mid range, down there on the baseline. He either you never see Sean Livingston, sit there in the corner and hit threes. He's usually driving and then pulling up at that mid-range spot, which catches people kind of off guard. And that's kind of Rodney Hood's game to a certain degree, except Sean Livingston's got some sick handles.
Yes.
he can split some D's very, very easily. I don't know if Rodney has that to his game yet.
Right. Yet. Well, I mean, he's at the a ripe young age of 28 at this point, something like that.
Is he 20? No way.
Maybe not. He's probably only 26, 27. I'll look it up, but
I thought he was a rookie.
I thought he was barely 17 years old.
I know. Coming right out of high school, He's 26.
He is just 26. Okay, yeah. He's just getting into the prime of his career. One of the things I like a lot about Rodney Hood, I think is very important about Rodney Hood, is that as a long and lanky shooter, as a 6'8", and lanky, good wingspan on a shooter, he actually is a good creator. Like he creates his own shot well. I think that's one of the major issues that he ran across when he was in Cleveland, is that they were asking him to be nothing more than a spot up shooter. Like they drive in and they kick out to him on the corner, in the wing, whatever it may be. And I feel like Portland is letting him create a little bit more, which is more comfortable for him. Take one or two dribbles and then have a pull-up jumper, create just a little bit of space, not just be a spot-up guy. And that's what's really made the difference, it seems, with him. Now, granted, he's not necessarily scoring. He was averaging 12 points a game when he was in Cleveland at the beginning of this year, before he ended up in Portland, versus only 9.6 now. So it's like a less, a point total, but I think he's doing it more efficiently in a lot of ways. And I think that's been huge for them, especially the playoffs. The playoffs, it's completely different. It's just he's a different player.
Different basketball at the playoffs as well.
Yeah, and he just seems to really come alive a lot more in the playoffs, which I think is pretty key right there. So that's big time. It's fun seeing that. Let's flip it around to the other side in the West, though, because I know you've got lots of things to say about the old Warriors.
Trust me, it ain't that much.
Maybe just two particular words. Maybe one that we would have to bleep out.
I'm just over them. I'm over the whole thing. I mean, like, I get it. Splash Bros, they got them threes, man, and they just hitting them. And then you got that there Draymond, and he's always getting in some type of scuttlebutt. He's always doing something down there. And then quietly there sits Kevin Durant holding the ball above players' heads in the playoffs, which is what he did the other night. When they're trying to waste time and the guy's trying to get to him. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Patrick Beverley or Kevin Durant. Patrick Beverley, who's all of 6'5", is guarding the 7-foot freak of nature.
6'5" is the most generous thing anyone has ever said about Patrick Beverley. That dude
he looks so tiny.
Even. He's 6 foot even.
Think about that for what Patrick Beverley played for the Clippers. All right.
Yeah.
Think about what he was asked to guard Kevin Durant the whole time. And Patrick Beverley's a great defender. That's one of the best. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA. But what do you do with somebody like that? And that's the thing with these stupid Warriors, man. I mean, they complain so much to the referees. There have been more. I feel like these playoffs in general, it's been more focused on refereeing.
Oh gosh, it's been terrible.
Than anything else. It's like
that's been the most unwatchable part of the playoffs. The playoffs have been great. That's been unwatchable.
It's just on both sides of it. On the players' sides, constantly. A modern day NBA player is that little emoji that you send me often with the hands up in the air and the person going like, I don't know.
The shruggy.
The shruggy. Yes,
that's my favorite.
That's the modern day playoff NBA player is the shruggy. And it's nonstop. It's the entire time with I get it, but then on the flip side of it too, the referee, it is just, we complain about this too much, I think, on our other college basketball podcast, but it's just too much. I mean, what are we trying to? I mean, it feels like you can't play basketball. Like you can't. There is no touching anyone on any shot, not just 3-pointers. But on any shot, there's no physicality. Like the physicality of basketball, the Charles Barkleys of the world, if you remember Sir Charles back in the day, he's a physical basketball player. Patrick Ewing, Shaquille O'Neal, those guys, the big body, rough and tumble thing, that is so long gone. Gosh. And I think to look at even the game that's playing right now, like the ticky-tacky fouls. I mean, I get it. The players are wanting to kind of like complain about it and everything, but at the same time, stop it. Enough of it. Like it ruins the watchability of it all. It takes away from the like a buzzer-beating shot from, Kawhi or Dame or whomever, it takes away from that, because then that just becomes another thing to report about. And then we have to watch Russell Westbrook say next question when he's asked about it, or you have to watch, James Harden just say, "Oh, we tried." As they're being referenced questions of, hey, your attitude about the refs seems kind of ridiculous. What can you say about that? Next question. You're coming after me, media. It's like, enough of this. Enough of it. I'm sick of it. And I blame solely Golden State Warriors. I don't blame anybody else. They ruined basketball.
You didn't even mention any of their players during that entire rant and then tied it into them at the end. That's awesome. So that's impressive. I love it.
I'm so over them. Maybe that's just I just love the underdog. And then with the Warriors, it seems like the underdog never wins, except for that one time your name is LeBron James.
Right. And I don't have, when it comes to the core of the Warriors, when it comes to Steph, Clay, Draymond, I don't hold anything against them. They were all drafted in. They developed together. They just happened to all click perfectly. They somehow weathered what must have been a complete nightmare of having Mark Jackson as a coach.
Who's the worst commentator ever, by the way.
There's
between he and what's his face, his
Van
partner
Gundy?
in crime, Van Gundy, dude.
Yeah, so I got on Twitter the other day, and I said, name a worse commentary duo than Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy. Because I don't think that there's a worse duo. And of course, there's some people that tweet are like, what about Gary Danielson? I'm like, well, yeah, Gary Danielson's worse in general, but name a worse duo. And my brother Anthony tweeted at me and said, the hypothetical pairing of your favorite Beth Mowins and Gary Danielson together would be the stuff of nightmares. And I said, there's the winner right there.
Oh, Anthony wins. Anthony wins the prize for that.
That would be the winner. That'd be the winner
right there. No doubt, dude.
Yeah. No, but they grew together. So I don't care much about them. The stuff they did as a team is impressive. The fact that they got successful, and so all these other players decided that they needed to join them, is what, of course, obviously bothers me. Right?
Yeah.
They were successful. Yeah. They had the fun to watch Splash Brothers team. So now it's like Andre Iguodala, who was, an all-star in his own right. He has to show up now.
Come off the bench.
Yeah, he was a franchise player for two different programs, two different franchises, and he now comes on the bench. The fact that Boogie Cousins is like, give me $2 million because New Orleans doesn't want me, that bull crap. That sort of stuff happens. Obviously the KD situation happens. So when all of that happens, it's like, well, there's nothing to respect there anymore. When so much of the team people are like, oh man, remember before the playoffs, somebody was like, oh yeah, is it going to hurt the Warriors to be missing DeMarcus Cousins? And I'm like, DeMarcus Cousins barely even played for him.
I know.
He barely
he averaged 14 minutes a game or something?
In 12 games, Yeah. And then Kevin Durant is out for a few games. They're like, oh man, this is it. This is not the same team that won a record amount of wins a few years ago. I'm like, yeah, it is. It
most certainly is. It still is. Whatever system Steve Kerr has in place with these jackasses, that it works so well that you can see the other night, Jerebko, all right? Jerebko is out there being efficient, and then you get guys like what's the dude's name? Nick. I can't remember his name now. Anyways, one of
Nick
the other
Young?
Nick. Was it? No, not Swaggy P.
He was there. He was there last year.
He was there last year. Yeah, guys like him. You get all these other dudes that just come off the bench. Randall Looney. All right.
Kevon Looney.
Kevon Looney. Yeah, I know a guy named Randall Looney, which is why I said that. But Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney. I mean, who's ever heard of Kevon Looney outside of the Warriors? It's not as if this person was sought after or whatever. It's
I used to see his name on NBA 2K, and I just thought it was Kevin. I thought it was Kevin Looney, and all of a sudden he just. They say it on an actual broadcast, and I was like, oh, no, I've gotten that all wrong.
It's stuff like that where I'm like, they're so. I don't know. It's one of those things where I read articles about breaking up of Facebook. There was a big New York Times article that the co-founder said that it's time for Facebook to kind of break up, meaning Facebook owns Instagram and Snapchat and WhatsApp, and they're thinking like, all right, we need to not let Facebook own all of these things, and so it's time to break up. I have the same feelings towards the freaking Golden State Warriors. Yeah. It's just like, come on, let there be some drama. Like, this is enough. Like, it's just, I personally, I like the Dame Lillard approach to things where I don't want to join them. I want to beat them. Like, I don't want to just go with what's, convenient or easy. And which seems to be a lot of players want to do that. They just want to go with whatever is the easiest approach to a championship.
Yep. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't have anything against Steph, Clay, Draymond, right? Steph, Clay, Draymond, whatever. They're good players who develop together. If they were just still the team and that was it, then and they got some like Kevon Looney's around them. They got, a Sean Livingston to come in and be, a 6-man change of pace point guard, all of that. Great, good on them. It's when you have all the guys that start joining them to do the ring chasing thing that I'm like, I'm over. I don't care about the whole dynasty thing now. This dynasty thing is not incredible because it goes from being a natural thing to a completely manufactured dynasty. Like, the New England Patriots are annoying with their success.
Yeah.
They just are. It's annoying that they are consistently successful. It's annoying that they do all this. They do all this with mostly guys that do not necessarily do anything like for other teams. Like, they have the right system, the right coaching, all of that going on for him. So it's like, okay, you got Tom Brady. You can get a bunch of no-name slot wide receivers, and he's going to turn them into, all-pro receivers.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. It's all of that. It's like if you were on the Patriots and then all of a sudden, oh, I know what happened. They get Brandon Cooks, for example. That's like, oh, wait, well, that's just cheap. But as it turns out, Brandon Cooks sucks anyway. So, so whatever. Yeah. But, it's that sort of stuff. If that was happening all the time, then it's just like, it's not respectable.
Yeah.
It may be entertaining. They may be good. It's not respectable, though.
But then, all right, so to your point, but then the American in me is saying like, well, I always want the best to win,
Sure.
like clearly Golden State Warriors, ain't nobody can beat them. I mean,
right.
What?
Somebody's got to beat them in order for it to actually break up.
Cleveland stole one game off of them last year, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah.
Like,
thanks to Rodney Hood.
Shout outs to Rodney still. That's pretty telling when the powerhouse of the East, they beat all those other teams and they go against the Warriors and it's like, just an onslaught of talent. What do you do? And that trend is still continuing even as we speak. I mean, I'm just sitting here watching Steph Curry. That guy's he's just as much of a freak as Kevin Durant. Dude goes 0 for 18 in the first half the other night, and then literally wills their team to victory against Houston by himself. He scored like 21 points in a quarter or something like that, off of making shots that I don't care who you are, whether you're coached by your dad, your mama, your grandmama, your actual coach. You don't take those shots in real life.
Right.
You can't just pull up from freaking 47 feet away from the basketball and the freaking logo and be like, and walk away that's what he does. It doesn't make any sense. And so you got a guy like that who's a freak of nature, can feel the Earth's gravitational pull beneath his freaking feet. And then you get a guy like Kevin Durant who physically is on an entirely different level than anybody else in the entire NBA. Yeah. And he also is like a killer. He just will ice you in no matter what. I mean, the dude literally before I was reading about, my wife was asking me the other day about who's the best crap talker in the NBA, trash talker right now. And the two that you'll see that come up on top is Draymond Green and Chris Paul.
Right.
And then Leo was like, well, what about Kevin Durant? Like, I feel like he talks the whole game. And so I looked it up. I looked up this article, and basically it's Kevin Durant's trash talk is, yeah, shut up, man, I'm Kevin Durant. And then he backs it up. Like, that's it. Like, that's kind of that's how it's gone for him. But I see, as much as I'm talking up Kevin Durant, I am on the anti-Kevin Durant train. He's no longer the likable dude. I don't like him. I respect his game. I think he's an incredibly the best. I mean, he's no. I'd still say LeBron's got that number one spot, and a very close second is Kevin Durant, and a third is probably Steph Curry. Just from what you see on a production level, maybe fourth would be Anthony Davis, but like, I don't know, man. I have this last 2 years of him being at Golden State. I'm really not a fan of Kevin Durant anymore.
No. In fact, I have a very different thought. As far as like him being, I'm Kevin Durant, and then he backs it up or whatever. He strikes me as, and everything he says and the way he acts on social media, he strikes me as wildly insecure.
What makes you say that? Because of all of his burner accounts that he
because of the burner accounts, because he can't help but like if House of Highlights posts something that like is funny but it's at his expense, he's gonna make a comment about it and be like, oh, so you jealous or something now? He can't resist. There's something about Kevin Durant that he just, I don't know. He's constantly doing stuff that just lashing out at people for like no reason. It just seems to be out of like just wild insecurity. He seems to care a huge amount about the fact that he was super likable guy and he turned villain. And like the Miami Heat did it well. The Miami Heat, when they formed the Big Three, they did the whole turning into villains and playing that card. They did that well, and like they just embraced it. He felt the need to do it, Kevin Durant, that is, felt the need to do it and did it very poorly by basically just like cussing a lot in interviews and being really insecure in like his trash talk and his social media stuff. And it just ruins so much likability from who was a very likable you-to-real MVP guy, Yeah,
you-to-real MVP.
Like, oh man, it's fallen so far from that. Let's change directions real quick and go over to the East because I actually really disagree with you on something there that you just said. I think that the close number 2, borderline number 1 best player in the NBA right now is Kawhi Leonard.
Oh man, I see. That's the thing about Kawhi. He's so quiet that you forget about him because I kind of agree with you that you reminded me that he exists and he's an incredibly gifted basketball player. He's a robot, dude.
I know. He's so good. So I could not have been more wrong about Kawhi Leonard when it came to my expectations of Toronto this year. He goes up to the Great White North. I think that they are not going to click. I think he's going to like not play because he didn't want to go there. He wanted to go somewhere bigger profile. No, he puts the team on his back. He averages almost 27 points a game this season. And then in the playoffs so far, what has it been? I'm trying to find the playoff. Here it is. In the playoffs, he is averaging 31.8 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, and 3.6 assists per game. All right. Yeah. While shooting 54% from the field. And not great. I mean, 41% from deep. Pretty good for him. I mean, I don't think he's ever been a career like great 3-point shooter, but doing that. And I wonder how many times he's like getting to the line and everything. He's getting to the line. There it is. He's getting to the line 7.5 times a game. He's willing the team. He's taken the team over. The team is now, it's not Kyle Lowry's. It's Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam's team at this point in time. And he's taken over, and he's putting in performances that are more reminiscent of Michael Jordan performances than any other player has put together in the playoffs, really since since Michael Jordan, quite honestly. So Kawhi Leonard right now, I think, is making a case for taking the reins as the best player in the NBA. Making the case, not necessarily doing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, truly, if he beats Giannis and that crazy monstrosity of a human being, and the Bucks, because the Bucks are actually a very good team,
Very good.
unlike the 76ers, who, in my opinion, are probably the most overrated team in all of the NBA.
I'm glad you say that. I'm going to ask you more about that in a second.
But I think truly, statistically, through 12 games, like, Leonard is playing just like Michael Jordan, if not just a little bit better. And that's huge compliment to him or whatever. Obviously he's not, but like, think about this. What's the most iconic shot of the playoffs right now? It was Dame Lillard the other night, sent him into overtime. But like, that shot, dude, I came out of my seat. I mean, Lee and I were watching that on Saturday. I like jumped up. It was like unbelievable. Like that, there's no way that shot could go in. See, if he's able to kind of knock off the Bucks and then, also play like he's been playing against the Warriors, man, dude, like that's a scary person. Imagine that. Imagine how legendary Kawhi Leonard becomes if he single-handedly beats this Warriors team. Not that he can single-handedly do it. He obviously has teammates and everything, but like, my goodness, think about that story if that happens. I mean, who knows?
It's a big if, but
anyways, yeah, I agree with your statement. I think Kawhi. I definitely would go LeBron 1 still, Kawhi number 2, then KD.
Yeah. And one of the big things for me with Kawhi is the fact that Kawhi went to a team he did not want to go to and put them on his back and became the leader for them, has led them to the Eastern Conference Finals and, possibly a chance at the NBA Finals themselves. Broke the curse of Toronto always losing in the first round, did all of that.
The king of the North, if you will.
If you will. Yeah, and I think that is one of the things that really puts him in there. Anthony Davis has proven to not really be a guy that you can really like build a consistent team around necessarily. Like there's that like individual talent for sure, but not necessarily a guy you could build a team around. They need more there. LeBron has had, the Lakers are just dysfunctional, so it's not really his fault. But like Kevin Durant goes out with injury and the Warriors don't really miss a step. They go back to being exactly who they were before he got there. It's all that sort of stuff. And that's why I think Kawhi Leonard, is set apart in that regard. Big time player and has really stepped it up quite a bit there in Toronto. They defeated the Philadelphia 76ers, a team you referenced just a second ago. Here's a fun fact. I don't know if you saw the video, but the rapper Drake, a Toronto native, it was making light of the supposed Drake curse. Anytime he supports a team, they crash and burn. For Game 7 that the Raptors won, he was wearing Philadelphia 76ers shorts. As a claim that he was trying to jinx them. Drake is a wholly unlikable person. His music is garbage. He might be a sexual predator. There's a lot to not like about Drake.
Champagne Poppy? What you talking about?
I know. But this is funny. This is really funny. Though also I feel like it's just as likely that he was wearing Philly shorts so that if Philly won, he could say, oh, well, good for them. They had my support tonight.
He's that fan that wears both of the jerseys, and then whoever wins, he switches at the end of the game. Exactly. No doubt in my mind.
Oh, not a doubt.
That's the most Drake thing ever.
Yep. So what's up with Philly? What's going wrong with them, right? Because they were stacked up to be a possible favorite in the East, and then they got Kawhi'd.
We got Kawhi. I think what's wrong with Philly is the characters that they have in place. Like Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, JJ Redick. who I feel like is 47 years old. I feel like that guy's been in the league
just
since
turned
I was in high
48.
school.
Yeah, just turned 48.
I swear, does it not feel like JJ Redick has been in the league since you and I were like sophomore year of high school or something?
It's because it felt like JJ was at Duke for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just the characters don't mesh well. I don't think. Looking at Joel, I mean the broadcasters highlighted it a lot, like Shaq and Chuck and all them, about Joel Embiid's just kind of overall body language and effort.
Yeah.
You know, I looking at Joel Embiid, he's 25 years old. He talks a massive game, and he's very good. However, like, he doesn't seem like a very fun teammate just watching the game. He doesn't seem like he's involved as much as he probably should be. And maybe that's because of all the litany of injuries that this dude has had over his very brief NBA. I mean, he feels like a rookie still, right? I mean, he's been drafted for a while now. I mean, he was drafted in like 2013, and I think he's only played, you know, handful of games, a couple hundred games or so. He's been in the league that long, and I don't know if it's that, you know, Ben Simmons, for as great as he is, I mean, bro does not. How do you not have a jump shot? How do you not just like? I mean, think if Ben Simmons could just develop the ability to shoot the basketball consistently, you're looking at probably top 10 player in the league. I mean, he's incredibly around the basket. He's a great distributor. If he could somehow develop a shot that's consistent, but he doesn't do that. And then
and I think with him, it's not even just the shot; like, it's the consistency in general. Because there's some times in which, with absolutely no jump shot, he can drop 30 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, and then show up the next game and have maybe 7 points.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's all around. I think I don't necessarily feel like the jump shot is as crucial to Simmons' success as just the consistency, flat out. Period.
Yeah, and then you get Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler. Lord, if Jimmy Butler's kind of a hard person to. I mean, he's a great basketball player. I mean, 8 seasons, many of those with Chicago, and then it's like you never really heard of Jimmy Butler. Like, came from Marquette, and then he has all those great years in Chicago, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, he's amazing, he's great, and then Chicago does their rebuild and trade him away to Minnesota. That failed colossally, mostly because of him. Because he didn't mesh well with the other players and the coach, and there's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes.
And as it turns out, the Minnesota was not really that great this year. It was a lottery team, so maybe he was right to be frustrated.
Yeah, and so now you get him to a bunch that cares, but he doesn't. I don't know, man. Jimmy Butler doesn't need to be the focal point of that team, and he's their best player. That is.
He's a little
Jimmy
bit of
Butler. He's a little bit of a crazy guy. He's kind of like I don't know. He's got the personality of a Draymond. He's got the personality of maybe a little Meta World Peace. He seems like somebody I would not really want to mess with.
No, not at all.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler, in my humble opinion, I think he would do well, like playing alongside a Paul George and Russell Westbrook, or even heading out to LA. And just working with younger guys and
you're talking about the Clippers, of course.
Yeah, the Clippers.
The most desirable LA destination at this point, the Los Angeles Clippers. Yeah, no question.
Did you see the other day? This is like last week. Lakers fans were protesting outside of Staples Arena, demanding they trade LeBron James.
Yep.
That just embodies Laker Nation right there.
They're a mess.
They are a mess. Top down, they're a mess.
They're a mess. And I'll say this, not as like a New Orleans fan, even though because I am, and I'm not even going to try to hide it on this podcast, but I'll say this: it's a lot of fun to see a team or a franchise and a location that had that much entitlement suffer as a byproduct of their own entitlement. Going all the way back to the fact that they decided it'd be, the right idea out of like entitlement to pay a broken Kobe Bryant like $35 million a year.
Exactly.
And strangle them from a financial standpoint. Just absolutely strangle the team so they can't rebuild, and they're still in a rebuild. They have not recovered from Kobe Bryant's last 3 seasons. And it's kind of hilarious that the Clippers are doing well and are a desirable destination in LA, and the Lakers refuse to acknowledge it. The Lakers don't get their way when they're trying to get an AD trade happening, that sort of thing. It's very entertaining. It's very entertaining. But I'm going to ask you a couple questions as we wrap up this episode here. Question number 1, both Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris are potential free agents this upcoming year. Tobias Harris is an unrestricted free agent. Jimmy Butler has a player option on his contract. Do either of them, do they stay in Philly or not? Either of them, both of them, whatever. Do any of them stay in Philly? Do they both leave? Does one of them stay? Whatever.
Man, golly, I really could see Jimmy Butler leaving. I could see Tobias Harris staying. I mean, I could easily see Jimmy Butler going to better waters.
Yeah.
I mean, his most recent Slam magazine reported this. He says, "I will get a max contract anywhere I choose to go," and I think at this point in his career, that's what he's probably looking for, is that max deal for the $220 million he thinks he's worth at age 30, however much it will be. And then you look at teams that would be able to kind of afford him. It doesn't look like the Sixers are in a position to offer him a max contract just from what they have on paper right now, but who knows moving forward.
Yeah, this is where I'm curious.
I could see Jimmy Butler joining the Rockets too. I mean, like, could easily see that.
Yeah, I think if Philly is smart about it, I think Philly cuts ties with Butler and sticks with Harris, because I think Harris can fit a team mold more. And I think if Philly wants to, I think Philly has to lose somebody to build the team they want to build. I think they should get rid of Butler, who was like a last-ditch effort pickup this season, and keep with the young core that they're building, and have Tobias Harris be their veteran guy. Yeah. All right. Now let's do a couple predictions. The Western Conference Finals, Portland and Golden State. This game is wrapping up. Golden State, with about 6 minutes to go, Golden State has a double-digit lead. Looks like they're probably going to hang on to that unless something crazy happens. We won't speculate. But who wins this series?
I'm going to hot take here, bro.
Yeah.
Golden State.
The hottest. We specialize in gazpacho takes over here on 40 Minutes of Hell. Cold, cold, cold. All right, Eastern Conference.
I'm going to go
great
with
matchup. Kawhi versus Giannis. And you're taking Toronto? I talked right over you.
Toronto. Yeah, no. I'm taking Toronto. King in the North rises. I think it'll be a great series. Way better than this one.
Yeah.
And I think, honest to God, think that we'll see a very, ridiculous Kawhi Leonard just kind of be that. I don't think Giannis is still still pretty young.
Gosh, yeah, he can't be but like 22, 23.
Yeah, and he doesn't have those intangible parts to his game yet. He relies so much on physical athleticism, where somebody like Kawhi, dude, I think Michael Jordan even said it a few years ago, like Kawhi Leonard he might be the best player in basketball, hands down. Just the way his approach to the game, his knowledge, and just his kind of, I mean, nothing affects the guy, dude. You ever see that dude he wasn't even that excited when he made that shot. He's literally squatting down, and it goes in, and he lifts his arm up in the air, and his teammates surround him, and he's like telling everybody, "Back off of me! Like, get off of me!" Like that. Freakazoid, Freakazoid. He's just a strange human. So yeah, I'm going with him.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on both fronts. I think we're looking at Warriors and Warriors and the Jurassic Park Raptors because the Raptors are just playing so hot right now. I like the Bucks though, and I think the Bucks are a really complete team. I really like Middleton and especially I think that Bledsoe on his good nights is really, really good. But I think that we haven't seen enough good nights out of Bledsoe. I think they just haven't seen enough out of, Middleton's been pretty consistent, I think. But I feel like the Bucks as a whole we've seen them do very well as a team, but we haven't seen enough consistency out of those guys. And I think that Toronto is getting more out of the depth guys. And that is what can differentiate things in a playoff, in a series, and in a title especially. So I think Toronto ends up winning that one as well. Do you want to make a prediction on who wins the NBA Finals, or save that for another episode?
We might as well make that prediction now. I mean, it seems that the stars are aligned for the Kool-Aid drinkers to continue to drink the Kool-Aid of the Golden State Warriors. So I will definitely pick them. It's just the logical pick. I think even if we're saying our picks go through and Kawhi is facing them, the Raptors. Kawhi is but one, and Kyle Lowry ain't really been playing the greatest basketball in these playoffs, kind of non-existent. So, and I don't think Siakam is a player that you can count on either.
You don't like Spicy P?
I love Spicy P. No. I think I don't get me wrong. I love Spicy P. I think he's amazing. However, think about like right now what's happening between Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry. Even if two of those guys don't play well, the other two do. You know, and exactly. So like that's the problem. Like a guy like Siakam, he definitely ain't no Steph Curry. He's most certainly not anywhere near a Klay Thompson.
Right.
So like, what does he offer? He's a Draymond of that group, and you can't count on a Draymond of that group to score.
I mean, he's by far a better scorer than Draymond. He is dropping,
no doubt.
He is dropping like 20, 21 a game in the playoffs so far, but I think you're right on that. I will say this. I think that the Warriors, it's just really almost impossible to get 3 in a row.
Yeah.
It just is. It's almost impossible. So the Warriors have that going against them, that they have to pull off something that is almost impossible. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult, maybe too difficult for them to be able to do. The difference is it would be a 3 in a row for Steph, Klay, and Draymond. It would not be a 3 in a row for Kevin Durant. So when you add a player like that, then even if the team is struggling a little bit, he completely changes the look of things. And so it could be they get a 3 in a row because he's still fresh to to the franchise. And so I think they're still the favorites, but if I had to pick, I guess I'd go with them. But my gut says that it's almost impossible to get a 3 in a row, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Toronto actually get a championship this year.
Yeah.
Not predicting it, but it wouldn't surprise me. More because of how hard it is to get 3 championships in a row, less because of the talent of either team. So that's my thought process on it. It's completely asinine. So, all right. This is 40 Minutes of Hell. We're going to wrap things up now. Ro, that was fun. I'm glad we got a chance.
That was great. I know, right? We've recorded so many NBA podcasts this season.
I know. I mean, at least they're 2 together in one.
They're out there.
Love it.
So I'm glad that we made it to the end of the season to get another one. Just to keep the listeners happy.
Maybe one of these days we'll have more time on our hands and can do these things more consistently. As for now, we do what we want when we want, and most of the time,
absolutely.
Most of the time that involves not recording podcasts because we are old and tired. So, all right. I'm your friend Joseph Craven. Thank you for listening to this episode of 40 Minutes of Hell. Shout out to our friend Jim Strickland, Jimmer, who's too busy Twitch streaming to ever hang out with us anymore.
Oh, man, that's all the guy does.
You worthless man. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.